goes to the 1980s era of anime. The most important milestone of the 90s, according to many anime fans, was the release of Neon Genesis Evangelion, or Shinseki Evangelion, or literally Gospel of the New Century, 1985. Hideaki Anno, who had been behind the scenes on a number of the big hits previously mentioned, especially those associated with the Ghibli founders, was the writer and director of this anime. This is a brutal, claustrophobic, but most of the time, and especially after the first half of the first season, an extremely profound show. This is one of those shows that reaches with a completely innocent face into the very depths of helplessness and drags out the brilliant truth that being a human among humans, being connected to other people, is ultimately everything. Some elements of the animation might be dated, but the story and characterization are extremely solid and visual motifs are brilliant. This show is like the apogee of the real robot genre. I think you can imagine the ethical implications explicitly considered and unconsidered in the show if I was to say the Evangelion is a giant biomachine which can only be piloted by a select few teenagers. And this is not a show that shies away from the ridiculousness of thrusting teenagers into such a situation and demanding so much more from them than is at all fair. This is one of those shows that is big and dark enough to accommodate any positive aspect of war and still bring home the message that it must be avoided at all costs. And in that sense, is even philosophically the natural end of the real robot genre as a progression. This series and sometimes the following films are sometimes regarded as the very best anime series, in a similar light to how Akira is often regarded as the very best anime film. Actually, it's often regarded as the beginning of a distinct genre, psychological mecha. There are a number of successors or post-Evangelion shows, Kasaraki, Brain-Powered, and Razafon. One of the effects of the giant amount of violence and sexuality in Evangelion, however, was that TV, or Terebi Tokyo, the big anime channel, increased its standards of censorship and started clamping down on filming excesses. This strict censorship has led to some important shows getting a really distorted run on TV. For instance, Cowboy Bebop in 1998 was shown in Japan with only half of its full run of episodes, and if you have ever watched it, you might well question such a drastic cut. Let's talk about Cowboy Bebop. Often regarded as a gateway series for the medium as a whole, it was actually my gateway in getting reintroduced to the genre as well. This show is stylish, has great characters, great voice acting, great soundtrack, and a great story. This is a show which imagines a dirty interplanetary future with plenty of haves and have-nots, but in an organic, familiar way. The director of the show believes Lupin III, the 70s show that Spielberg had recommended earlier, was a major inspiration, and credits influences from Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid, Bruce Lee films, and blaxploitation. This is often cited as one of the greatest animes of all time, though I doubt you would find many people who would be willing to say it actually is the greatest. The post-Evangelion boom wasn't just about mecha, there was a boom in experimental, dark, psychological works which were released on late-night TV, including shows like the cyberpunk serial Experiments Lane in 1998, the horror mystery Boogie Pop Phantom in 2000, the cyberpunk Texano Rise in 2003 to 2004, set in a dirty urban future, and a kind of tongue-in-cheek psychological thriller Paranoia Agent in 2004, with a wonderful opening bit. There were experimental films before there was a post-Evangelion boom, of course. The major entrant in this category, which might even be considered a precursor of some of the previously mentioned late-night TV cyberpunk, was the seminal Ghost in the Shell in 1995. Action-packed, thrilling, and with a solid consideration of the ethical implications of its cyborgized world, this is another of anime's must-watch thrillers and is considered a major influence on The Matrix. After years of being completely passed over for the real robot genre, the super robot genre also began a revival in 1990 with the release of Brave X Kaiser. It has a plot that is reminiscent of Transformers, where a special space police task force continues a pursuit on Earth by spiritually possessing vehicles all over Japan. Also, replace Decepticon with Geister and you get the plot. Each episode has the heroic Kaisers protecting Earth from one Geister plot or another. Differently titled entries were released in the Brave series in each subsequent year, basically up till 2000, with a further 2005 series. From 1997, the names of the series became standardized as the comical King of Praise Gogaiga. There were also a number of remakes and sequels for 70s super robot shows, such as Getter Roboco 1991-92, which was a remake of the 1975-76 Getter Robo series, and a Gigantor sequel called Tetsujin 28 Go FX 1992-93. After this period, and aside from the Brave series, there were a few popular Super Robot shows produced until 2007's Tengen Toppa Gurren-Lagann. And Princess Mononoke was the most expensive film of the time, and it really made an impact on me as well. It was the film that introduced me to the genre. Even as the Super Robot genre rose from the ashes, the real robot genre shows like Gundam began to decline, with few 90s Gundam shows actually being successful. The only 90s Gundam series with a modest following were Mobile Fighter G Gundam in 1994 and New Mobile Report Gundam Wing in 1994.